If you don't have a hitch, you don't want a hitch, or you're just using the hitch for something else, the Thule FastRide is a great way to get a bike mounted up on top of your roof rack. If you don't got a roof rack, we have those as well. This is gonna be a channel mount or a wraparound mount, and this is gonna be good for your thru-axle bikes or also your fork mounted bikes. So in this video, we're gonna go over some specs, show you how to install it, and see how it performs on the road. When you're setting up your crossbar spread, we want to make sure it's not going to be any less than 18 inches from the center of your crossbar to the center of the other crossbar, and we don't want it to be any more than 36 inches. So whenever you're setting that up, it's usually going to be about in the same bounds as your other accessories. So just make sure you do that so it is going to be compatible. We are going to be able to fit tire widths up to 3 inches, so this isn't going to be for your fat tire bikes. And it is relatively lighter weight since it's on the roof. That's typical with most roof bike racks. So we're gonna have a capacity of about 37.5 pounds. And with this little sliding cradle right here, we're gonna be able to get the kiddos bikes here, but then wheelbases all the way up to 48 inches. As far as overall dimensions go, we're gonna have an overall length of about 54 inches. It's only gonna take up at its widest point about 8 3/4 inches, and it's only gonna sit up about 3 1/4 inches. So if you don't really wanna take this thing off and put it back on all the time, you can keep it up on here. It's not gonna add a whole lot of height. And the nice thing about the width, we have plenty of crossbar space to put whatever other accessories like a wheel holder up on top of our roof. If you do plan on keeping it on your roof, you don't have to worry about stuff fading away or starting to rust away over time. We are going to have an aluminum construction with a nice powder coated finish, so it is going to resist against rust and corrosion. And we do have a higher end plastic, so it isn't going to fade in the sun. So if you want to keep it up here, you're good to go. I have it on the passenger side just so if we are pulled over on the side of the road for whatever reason, we're not going to be in traffic. But if you do want to put it on the driver's side, if you're having 2 of them maybe, what you want to do, there's going to be 4 little bolts on the bottom of this little housing. You're going to take those out and then you can flip this around so it's going to be on the other end. We're just doing it on the passenger side, so we didn't have to flip it around, but you can if you need it to be on the driver's side. One thing we want to make sure is on your bike, we do want to make sure that the fork dropout, which is this little gap right here, is going to be at least 21 millimeters, and that's what this is going to require. So anything up from that will work too. So now that that's done, take your wheel off if you haven't already, and then you can go ahead and take your bike and put it up on the rack, lay it into place, just like that. Then we can go ahead and start tightening this righty-tighty. Once it's nice and snug, not really going anywhere, we can go ahead and secure the back. Just adjust this. And just like any other bike rack, just go across your wheel. Make sure that this is over our wheel to protect it. And then you can cinch it down. We can do a couple different things with this. You can just let it hang, or you can go underneath and use that same little slot we use to get it out of the way to store it up to keep it from flapping around. We are going to have a cable lock on the bike rack, which is awesome. So it just slides out just like that. And what I typically do is you'll take it, go like this, and wrap it around the frame somehow, and then it'll come back and connect right here. But you are going to need to grab a locking core. So if you are grabbing it for your roof rack and the bike rack with the cable, then you should grab more than 2. But if you're just looking to lock down your bike and the rack, you can just grab 2 of them, and that'll go right here. And that'll allow it to lock down into place, just so it'll be a nice theft deterrent to those that have little sticky fingers. Obviously, if you're using a fork mounted or a through axle mounted bike rack, you're gonna have to do something with your wheel. So you can either throw it in the back of your car, or if you don't have room or don't wanna put it back there because it's dirty, I do recommend grabbing this. This is a Thule tire holder. So you just take this, fit it down into that slot, tighten it up. And the nice thing about this is it does have a cable as well, so you don't have to worry about somebody running off with it. And you can just take this just like that, lock it into place, like that. And we are ready to go. I really like this just because you never know what's going to be in your car. I always have a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be in there, but it stays in there most of the time. So with this, you don't have to worry about making room for your equipment. The bike's pretty stable up here. It's just as stable as the bike rack, which is stable. But we're gonna put it to the ultimate test. We do have a test course outside, so we're gonna take it on that, set up some GoPros just to give you an idea of what it's gonna look like when you go over some of those bumps you might see on the road. So we're gonna do some evasive maneuvering. We're basically just gonna take some sharp turns at about 15, 20 miles an hour just to simulate you changing lanes or just taking a simple turn at a light. We're gonna take a big left turn just to put all that load on one side. And on to the test course. So this is going to be extreme conditions really. If you hit a pothole or just some speed bumps in your subdivision. It's gonna simulate what it's gonna feel whenever it's up on your roof. And it's doing pretty good. Whether you're going biking off-grid and there's some really rough, uneven terrain, or you're just trying to get out of your subdivision, or the road's real potholy, this is gonna simulate what that's gonna feel like and look like up on the roof. Hopefully I did a decent job at answering a lot of the questions that you may have had about the bike rack, but if I didn't, I am bringing some of my fellow coworkers in that might have some other questions that you have, so stick around and we're gonna go over that with them. All right, so we have two roof racks. We have a roof rack and two bike racks up on the roof. We're gonna have the FastRide on this side, and we have the Top Ride on the other side. So basically, it's gonna work with your thru-axle and your fork-mounted bike racks, or with your fork-mounted bikes. Pretty simple install. They're basically the same exact thing, minus maybe one or two features. Let's just open it up to questions early to see exactly what you guys need to answer.
Looks to me like the major difference between the two is that the Top Ride has the lever so that you can change that. You can change the mount on the ground. Can you show us how that works?
Okay, so Top Ride, I like this one. If I was going to get one, I would get this one. It's just a little bit, I would say it's a little bit easier to kind of go from bike to bike. So the way this works is you go like this, and it's going to release that little lever. So basically this little piece here is what's going to move with this. So the cool thing about this is you get it all centered in, and then you push it forward, and you see this little green thing, little tab comes up. So I really like that. First time I used it, I put it on here and I clicked it into place. I'm like, is that it? Are we done? And we are. And it's nice and stable. So I really like this one. It's a little bit different than the one, than the FastRide, which is over there. But basically it's just, if you have a lot of different bikes that have different setups, this is going to be a little quicker to change out, almost immediately quicker, you know, compared to the other one. The other one, you got to swap things out, but you can still use any bike with either of them. This one's just quicker.
And doesn't that one let you do some of the work on the ground so you're not entirely working up on top of your vehicle?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'd say with both of them kind of do. I mean, with this, you know, you have to put something in between your forks first. But then on the other one, I'm going to go over there. I mean, on this other one, it's kind of the same deal. You just don't have anything inside your forks. So I don't really think, I mean, you take the wheel off on the ground on both of them and you bring the bike up on both of them. You just don't have to put hardware in for a fork-mounted bike rack here. But if you did want to put a thru-axle bike on here, you know, you basically just have to loosen this up and slide, and it's ready to rip. So I wouldn't say it's any more work putting your bike up there, but getting this situated for another bike that's not a fork mount does take a little bit longer. Basically, the process on the other one's the same exact thing. It's just which adapter are you using. With this one, you have to take this out and swap it up top. But I don't know. I'd say that both of them are just as easy. That one's just quicker, if that makes sense.
Sure. And if you needed a boost adapter, with both of them, you would have to buy the adapter separately, correct?
Yeah, that boost adapter you will have to buy separately. But this will take care of basically anything. If you do have a through axle and you go with the FastRide, you are going to have to buy the kit that comes with it. But then you're going to have to buy the kit separately. But then on the top ride on the other end, that already comes with it. So if you have a fork mounted bike rack, you go with the FastRide. If you have a through mounted bike rack, I would just go with the top ride. That one kind of just has it all ready to rip. This one's definitely made for the fork mounted bike racks, but if you have a through axle, you can convert it over, if that makes sense.
Seems to me like the top ride may be more for people with multiple bikes that might decide to ride one bike one day and one bike the next day, and the fast ride's more for I have this bike and this is the one I'm going to use.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. You hit the nail on the head there.
And I noticed both of them have the locking cable, but the locks for the cable are not included.
Yeah, on both of them, you're going to need to grab locks. I would grab locking cores. Why not? You know, it's 2 locking cores, done deal. If you have a Thule roof rack like this, you can have them all keyed alike if you want. But definitely grab some locking cores. They don't come with it, but the cable's basically, it's literally the same exact bike rack minus this little mechanism here. Literally, it's the same exact thing besides that little lever. So locking cores go here on this one, locking cores go there on that one, and it's the same exact bike lock on both of the racks. So definitely recommend grabbing both of them, and it all stores away right here real nicely like this. Take this out, put that in, slide it all the way down, and you are ready to go. Just like that.
Awesome.
Simple enough.
Adam, obviously I don't own a bike or anything like that, but so a fork mounted or a through axle versus just a wheel mount, as far as convenience, or is it types of bikes that need different ones? Like why am I choosing a through axle or a fork mount because my bike is a certain way versus a wheel mount one?
It just depends. Every single bike's going to be either really easy to take that front wheel off, or it's going to be a little bit more intense whenever you're taking it off. So if it's super, super simple, then you go with something like this. I think these are a little bit more stable, in my opinion. One, you're going to have a lower front end, which is nice, and it's just a lot more stable, and you don't have to lift it up as far. When you put a wheel mounted one on the roof, like you got to go all the way up. At least with this, you don't have to lift the front end all the way up. And this is basically the first thing you lock in. That's what I do. You lay it on there, you lock this in, everything's nice and tight. But with this size wheel, which is like 29 inches, this part right here, the fourth part, will be way up here. So it's that much more lift that you would have to do. I think these are more stable, and if you can take your front wheel off easily, I would go with a fork mount or a through axle mounted bike rack. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, because just convenience wise, as far as like just throwing a bike on top of the roof. Well, I mean, you're all obviously you have to lift the bike up. It's just which one I was wondering would be more convenient to lock in.
I like this one better, just to kind of show you, like I can actually do this on the ground. Twisty, and we're ready to go. So with this, it's just as easy to go in as it is to take out. But a lot lower, and a lot more stable too. You know.
Yeah, it seems like your hand would be way higher up in the air if you had the wheel on the front for the fork.
Crazy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but one thing I would recommend, even if you have a lower car and you're a taller fella, maybe you don't need an extra help getting up. But I've been using this all day and all day yesterday. I would definitely recommend getting something like this, just because, you know, it's hard enough to get it all the way up there. You don't want it to fall over or whatever, because this front end is always trying to twist. So I would definitely recommend getting this. We have a bunch of different steps. You can get one that goes in the door jamb, like in the little hook, but you need more of a surface area, in my opinion, when you're pulling the whole entire bike up there. I want 2 of my feet going to be planted down so I can have more leverage and more stability whenever I'm putting my bike up. So definitely recommend this. And that brings me to my second recommendation, which is the tire holder, which is right here in the middle. You have to do something with your tire, right? I mean, you can either throw it in the back if you want, but if you don't want to throw it in the back, whether it's muddy or you have a bunch of stuff in the back or just not enough room, if you're traveling, it's really nice having that. And this comes with a locking core already, so that's nice. And it has a lock that goes around it too. So that's another thing I would recommend getting with it. Why not? Just gives you a place to put it so you can use that space differently in the back. Obviously, it goes from car to car. We don't have any contact, which is nice. But this all just depends on pretty much where your front crossbar is. But I didn't have an issue with any of them. But it all, again, varies by your vehicle and how you set up the roof rack.
You don't need any tools to install either of those racks, correct?
Yeah, see, that's the good part about it. All you need is your hands. It's really nice. You don't have to use any tools. There's like one tool, one Allen key, but that's with initial assembly. It's not with setting it up. You know, there's just 2 little Allen keys that you have to, once you put this in, you go through. And if you are using the wraparound mounting hardware, you have 1 screw to screw in, so you need a Phillips for that. But other than that, like if you're doing T-track or you already have it assembled properly, then you won't need any tools, which is nice. So just to kind of run you through the process, let's just say I just got home. I'm gonna take my bike off. So first you do strap like that. Take this off like that. Put my bike to the side. And let's just say I don't want to keep it up on my roof. So literally all you have to do with ours, you just flap it open like this. Keep these levers up like that. Rotate them a little bit. And then you can just pull this guy right off. Doesn't take up a whole lot of space. You can hang it on a T-track, E-track, whatever you have in your garage. Put it on a shelf. It's really light, so you can do it by yourself. So it really doesn't take a whole lot of time to take it off, nor does it take a whole lot of time to put it back on, which is really convenient. Definitely like that. And as you can see, once you get that in there like this, and this goes like that, get it slid in where you need it. Twist it, twist it, twist it. And we are ready to go. So you just saw me take the bike off. You saw me put it on. You saw me take this off. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. That's why I like this bike rack. Definitely quicker if you do T-slots. If you have a T-slotted roof rack, I would definitely mount it that way. It's just better, in my opinion. Quicker, and it's extremely stable both ways.
It's so easy, and it leaves your hitch open for towing.
Exactly. That's what I said. I'm like, if you have a hitch, if you don't have a hitch, you don't want a hitch, or you're using it for something else, this is a great opportunity to load up your roof rack and really maximize it out. You could probably put a decent amount of these things on here. I mean, they don't take up a whole lot of bar space. So if you have a bunch of other accessories, this isn't really asking for much.
Now, if I had one of the racks and the wheel holder up there, would there be any room left on the other side for a cargo basket or box?
No.
It would just depend on your spread or on your length of the crossbars. I mean, I could take.
I feel like it would be pushing it pretty to the max, to be honest.
I mean, you can get like, I think there's a load warrior that's really, really skinny. So like,
Yeah, there's one called the Skinny Warrior that might work.
right, that'll work. That'll work. And it all just depends on your spread or your crossbar size. You know, I think these are like 47 inches, and this only takes up about, I think it's about 6.5 inches or something like that. 6.5, 8.5. But it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. You could definitely, this doesn't take up the whole thing. You can put a bike up here, and you can definitely get the Skinny Warrior up here. And just depending on the length of your bars, you could even get a cargo box on here, or even a kayak carrier too. You get plenty.
I would say just think about probably where you put things, because if you've got two bikes on here, depending on where you place it, it may be a little bit. And I think you said bringing up the whole wheel holder as well.
Yeah.
That would be definitely kind of a bit to think about placement wise. But if the skinny one would definitely work. I think you just have to worry about placement, but it's the other ones that would get a little tricky. And I don't know if many people would want to deal with that hassle on the same level, but you probably could work it in there. It would just take a second of planning.
You could do it. It's possible, for sure. But yeah,
It looks to me like you don't have to install the rack on either particular side of the vehicle, so it'd be good for putting on the passenger side so you could dismount your bike away from traffic.
right. And if you do plan on, if you wanted to put it on the driver's side for some reason, the other one doesn't really matter which side you put it on. One, you'll just feed the strap through the other way. And then with this one, you can take this out and you can flip it around. So this is going to be on the outside if it's on the driver's side. So if you do need that for some reason, you got it. To sum it all up, if it were me, I would definitely go ahead and grab the Thule tire hold. This is just super nice, so you don't have to put it in your vehicle. Definitely grab locking cores, and if you're short like me, you definitely need to get a step to be able to get your bike up and on there. It's a little awkward to do it from the ground, but if you're a little taller than I am, or you got a little lower sitting car, it's gonna be just perfect. But I definitely like it, and it does everything that I look for in a roof-mounted bike rack. So I think if you are deciding between them, this is gonna be a great pick for you. Again, this was the Thule FastRide roof-mounted bike rack, and I'm Adam with eTrailer.